Hey folks, Curtis Stone here. We're going to carry on our video series where we're looking at all the provinces and states in North America and analyzing them through the lens of homesteading. And today we're going to be looking at Newfoundland in Canada. And yeah, it's a maritime climate. Similar weather to all the places around here. Maine experiences some of it for sure. But, Newfoundland is up there as far as how north it is. If you just look at Canada as a whole, it's pretty close to the Arctic Circle, and so it's a lot closer than everywhere else that most people live in, except up in here in Labrador. But a lot of people don't live in Labrador. They live in these areas where the bigger cities are. And actually, isn't there a bigger city? Labrador City. I mean, it's small. Yeah, it's pretty barren up here in Labrador. Actually, look at it's a Canadian Shield. Its trees are sparse. The weather can be harsh. So let's look at what would you say is the no-go zone of Newfoundland. It's St. John's, but hardly really, because the population here is generally really, really low, and so I wouldn't take this too much with a grain of salt. There aren't, the thing about many other parts of Canada outside of Toronto, say, or Vancouver, is and Edmonton and Calgary, I would include in Winnipeg for sure. But the smaller cities in Canada, you just don't have the same kind of demoralized people. They're demoralized in some ways, but as demoralized as, say, urban metropolitan areas where you've got a lot of cultural diversity, and cultural diversity is mostly just a load of BS. People actually don't get along, and that's why they segregate into areas and cities. They balkanize in their own ways, and so places like St. John's don't have the amount of animosity that, say, a place like Atlanta, Georgia would have, right? Not even close. So when you think about the threat of socioeconomics, which is a scale of permanence, I believe it's number 4. You need to factor those things in, and they're just realistic considerations. But so, as far as Newfoundland is concerned, it's not too much of an issue. If you found a homestead in and around these areas, I'm sure it would be fine. You don't have the risk of absolute zombie apocalypse when there's no food in the grocery stores. There's just so few people out here, and there's so much land that in a way, it's very safe. It's a very safe place in some ways. In others, though, the thing that I have found just in my consulting over many, many years, getting to know people that are homesteading in this area, Nova Scotia, certainly New Brunswick, similar, is that there's just not a lot of young people, and that really weighs on you. And I'm not all that young. I'm 45, but when you look around and 2/3 of the people are 70 plus, it's just, and I don't know if that's the real statistics, but that's just what I've observed in these areas of Canada. And that can be kind of, concerning, because if you think about the socioeconomics of that, like much like I was talking about sort of urban, metropolitan, potentially violent scenarios, it's in this kind of apocalyptic scenario, it's not so much that it's violent, it's just so much that there's just so many people around you that are needy. And you're in a minority of people who can provide. Otherwise, the Canadian welfare system provides. But that welfare system all these systems are collapsing, in my opinion. And so take that for what it's worth. But it's called Cloward and Piven, and that's what's happening. Is they're making all services from the government grind to a halt. They're making them ineffective, and this is really happening in Canada, especially with CRA. And some other organizations, they just cannot manage. The bureaucracy is unmanageable and costly. But anyways, that's a whole other rant for another time. But so, that's, as we generically say, the main area you're going to avoid. But there's a lot of other areas you can explore. Let's just look at what good areas did we pick. They're all coastal. especially on Newfoundland here on the island, is that the highest ground is going to be in the center, right? As is most islands. As you get away from it, so you can see this ridge here, and then it starts to go down here. It kind of deltas out in a way. So all the good regions are going to be coastal. I wonder if the interior side of the ocean might be beneficial based on weather systems coming out from the outside of the ocean. But I don't have a lot of experience living in these climates, and I've visited them just a number of times. So, take it for what it's worth. But I do analyze it, a lot of topography, and can definitely find out certain things, but just by looking at them. It's interesting, all this. That's the rocky stuff. And these are where you have some of these coastlines that are just gorgeous, where it's like rocky. Yeah. This kind of stuff. It's just beautiful. These coastlines are so cool. And you're just on this big shield of rock. Look at that. And that's why there's so few trees up here. And so I wouldn't necessarily pick this type of landscape in Newfoundland to homestead on, because there's going to be very little soil. It's worse bedrock than I have. It's just shield. So I would avoid places that have that kind of topography. And so yeah, in here, we're into the trees, right? You can see that now we've got more soil here because there's more biomass. End of a road, always nice. Big fields, huge pond. Total private access in. You got to go all the way through the home to get to the end of the line, which looks like where some of the infrastructure is. Okay, that's updated. Mostly raw land, probably just a field that somebody owns this property and they just lease this part out to have some farmer run. Other than that, they maybe come out here and hunt every now and then, explore. Who knows? But how big is that one? That's 45 acres. Yeah, so you're kind of getting into those areas where there's more soil, right? You can see these kind of outcropping areas. They're really cool to visit and explore, but not necessarily. You're just so exposed, right? For any Atlantic system coming in, you're just exposed. So you don't want that. You want to have trees. You want to have topography around you that benefits you. You want to have, and we got some of that here, right on the coast. Man, you'd have such a cool view here, because yeah, you're off the really bony stuff. It's still kind of bony around here, but you got trees though. You got a wicked pond. Wow, you would have, look at that. Oh, you wouldn't have a view to the ocean. Oh, too bad. Because right here, that view to the ocean would be epic. And you're high up, right? I mean, as far as, you're 70, what are we here? 63, up at this high point, you're 92 meters off the ocean. So you're well out of the danger zone. However, you are in feeling the front, like, I don't know what hurricanes are like out here. I don't know if they get them much, but, big systems that come in, they could hammer you. And so I'm always kind of nervous living that close to the ocean. That's not my preference, but a lot of people do. So, oh, look at this. Newfoundland kind of does the similar thing that Quebec does with the way it kind of subdivides its peri-urban areas. That's cool. I like that. It's a bit more of an old school thing, because, this is the old school Canada. This is some of the first places people went and settled. Didn't stay long, though. Well, people stayed, but not a lot of people stayed. Most people went west, going towards Toronto or the other big cities in Canada. Wait, I looked at this one. That's this one. We looked at that one. Okay, where's our 10 acres? Was that what we were looking at? Yeah. So this is 10 acres. And it's the one that's not quite there, but that's cool. It's a cool property. I mean, you've got, maybe not having a view of the ocean is good as far as weather systems coming in, but you've got aspect to the south on the house. It's southeast. That's ideal. This one's a little bony around you, but you do have trees and you do have this pond, which is really cool. Governor's Pond. So that's 10 acres. And let's go look at our 23 acres. Oh, this is cool. That's a nice little, wow. Holy, that's beautiful. The way that's laid out. Easy access and turnaround. Not a lot of infrastructure, but the basics to get you started. You could easily just develop, this is your zone 1. You could just develop everything around there, all your buildings and infrastructure. Fields, you might want to consider putting some stuff up here. It looks like you get kind of marshy here. But yeah, you might just clear some treed areas. And you'd want to look at the ground here, because this might have been what happened here, is they just logged that and then that's what was there. So you always want to analyze your ground before you get in and get modifying it. Because if this is gonna end up like that, then you don't necessarily want to go cut those trees down. Maybe you might want to actually go closer to the house in here. But it looks like this, you got some of that boniness around here. But the thing is if there's trees growing, you got soil. So that's what's really important. But you've got this wicked little you have many microclimates on this property. This north side of this ridge, south side of this ridge, exposed area here, cool, damp areas here and here. This in the summer would be a neat place to hang out because you'd have western shade, as the sun sets. So, thinking about things like that when you look at properties is always kind of fun. But yeah, that's Newfoundland. It's a big area. Newfoundland, Labrador. We didn't even look at Labrador. It's very few people live up there. Just look, So yes, you can go up there, but it's, you need people too, right? And if you don't have people, that's a big thing. And if 2/3 of the people that are around you are old and no longer in their productive age, it's, and you have children, that's a big consideration. And that's why a lot of people leave these areas. And so it's sort of self-perpetuating. I don't even know if there's a lot of migration going to these areas. But yeah, we'll leave it there for this one, folks. If you guys like this video, smash the like, share it. Let me know in the comments where you want us to go next. And check out that web link I've got in here, a little video where I'll show you how to use Google Earth. And you can learn to do and navigate this like I do and help and save yourself tons of time when you're looking for properties. All right, folks, see you in the next one.